Since the forest started to get smaller, the animals have disappeared. There's no honey, which we used to collect, or fruit. I'm so sad that those days are gone. We live in a different world today. My heart is heavy because the world we knew has ceased to exist. Jose Quategui is a native Aceh, a hunter-gatherer tribe that lives in the Atlantic rainforest of Paraguay. The forest is their natural habitat. The Aceh see themselves as part of the ecosystem, which today has shrunk to just 1/10 of its original size. Around 90% of the forest has already been cut down to make space for industrial agriculture and livestock. Through its International Climate Initiative, Germany's Federal Environment Ministry has launched a project to assist the Aceh in preserving their habitat and its biodiversity. This is a project that puts people and the environment first.
Die Menschen sind ganz wichtig und diese
You can't underestimate the importance of people. We're very well aware of this in our work, so we include local people right from the start in our plans for conservation measures and also in their implementation later on. We do this because we can only ever protect these areas sustainably if the local people are convinced these measures are effective and will help preserve their livelihoods.
Können wir diese Schutzgebiete nachhaltig sichern.
Even if they now live in a protected zone, the days when the Aceh were able to survive on hunting and gathering alone are long gone. They keep enough livestock and grow enough maize to meet their own needs. However, to secure their livelihoods in the long term, they urgently need additional sources of income. The Worldwide Fund for Nature, which is implementing the German-funded project on site, is helping the Aceh to cultivate yerba mate. The Aceh's forefathers used to grow this plant to make tea. Mate sells well and also helps the forest floor to regenerate regularly. Land is greatly sought after in Paraguay. Major soy producers in particular are constantly seeking more space to plant and grow their profitable crop. Many small farmers have already sold up. The indigenous peoples feel extremely pressured by the producers who buy more and more land and clear large tracts of forest to create the space they need for their crops. And they offer increasingly large sums of money to get their hands on the property they want. This scenario is not just in Paraguay. The advance of industrial intensive agriculture is threatening natural areas and forests worldwide, areas that we should be preserving. Functioning ecosystems offer protection against natural disasters, regulate the global climate, and secure people's income and health.
The major global challenge is to conserve the world's original landscapes. Be it the rainforest, the savanna, or any other natural habitat, they're all home to a specific range of animals and plant species. And every animal and plant species has its place and purpose in our ecosystem as a whole. In some cases, we might not yet know what this purpose is. Maybe the next generation will be the first to find out, but they have to be given the chance to do so.
Germany's Federal Environment Ministry is committed to implementing the Convention on Biological Diversity, an international treaty concerning the use and conservation of biodiversity. As one of its targets, it aims to assign protected status to at least 17% of the world's terrestrial and inland water areas and 10% of all coastal and marine areas by 2020. These are ambitious goals, but are they realistic?
They're quite realistic. We've already made substantial headway in terms of the protection of terrestrial areas. Today, about 13% of the world's terrestrial areas are under protection. And the challenge now is to ensure that this protection is effective and sustainable. With regard to our oceans, things aren't looking quite so good. Up until now, around 2% of the world's oceans have been placed under protection, which means we still have a lot to do in this field. That's why, in our biodiversity projects, we're focusing specifically on this area.
For example, in Costa Rica, where coral reefs and mangrove forests are under threat, both of which are very important components of coastal protection. In Marino Ballena National Park, a German-led project has already had an impact. The coral reef has already recovered thanks to strict catch quotas and rules for all visitors to the protected zone. Local fishermen who initially feared for their livelihoods are now passionate about the national park. Many of them have retrained as tour guides. Before us, national park status just meant we couldn't fish. But then, thanks to our training, we changed our minds about things. We now look at nature in a completely different way. A success story. But in the mangroves close by, there is still a need for action. Agricultural usage is encroaching too far into the national park. The GIZ project being carried out here also develops guidelines for nature reserves. Thanks to a biological gap analysis, we've discovered that some protected areas are too small, or the space is too restricted to be properly adapted to the impacts of climate change. That's why the boundaries of some of the protected areas here are being redrawn to include bio-corridors that link the existing reserves with each other. Essentially, the objective is to expand protected areas and create more space for animals and plants. Another central objective of the Biodiversity Convention is the sustainable usage of natural resources in these conservation zones. By supporting dedicated environmental projects around the globe, Germany remains committed to the goals of the Convention.
We're a very reliable partner and fund a great many projects. I'm also proud that every year we have almost 500 million euros at our disposal to pursue these biodiversity targets together with our partners, especially in the countries of the South. We're actively engaged from Paraguay to Tanzania, and we have very good working relationships with our partners.
A great deal has already been achieved. If, in 2020, 17% of the Earth's terrestrial areas are under effective protection, this will be a success for everyone involved. The world's marine and coastal conservation areas urgently need to expand, a task that will keep us busy for years to come. It's important that biodiversity conservation is integrated into many more areas of our lives in the future, because we are all of us responsible for this. This is about the future of everyone on the planet.